Good morning. Kim Bultsma here with a cup of content, and you are joining me live for the Coffee Break Live that we go live on Mondays, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I am trying something new today. Typically, I go live on Facebook, but I was recently accepted into kind of I think it's like the beta program for LinkedIn Live. So I am live on LinkedIn, we are live on Facebook, and we're live on YouTube all at the same time. So wherever you would like to watch, that is what you can do. I've got Corinder here. He's coming in live from Facebook. And again, I'm still sending out my messenger notifications here, but if you want to watch in any other place, you can go to YouTube and click on the bell and make sure it's got the little vibrate around it. And it's pretty fantastic. We've got Mujan. Yay, Mujan's here. She's following us here on Facebook today. So enough of that kind of stuff. I just at least wanted to tell you, you can see me on all locations from now on. So wherever you prefer, LinkedIn, Facebook, or on YouTube on a cup of content, we are there. So let's get started. Today we're talking about hosting. Okay. So your hosting actually can play a pretty important role in how your website can rank on SEO. I'm going to pause a second here. I got Tim here. Corinder said that he didn't know that LinkedIn had live. And actually that's something new, and you have to apply to get into that program in order to do it. So so there you go. So I'm curious to see what it's going to look like over there. I clearly am not there right now. I'm just looking here, and I've got a few other things going on, but you can comment regardless of where you are on the video, as far as I understand. I know Facebook and YouTube work for that, but LinkedIn is still the new one for us. So we're gonna get that one figured out here. So, okay, so back to the issue at hand. We are talking today about hosting and how it can impact your SEO. And first of all, I want to talk a little bit, because some people don't know what all of the different terms mean. And yes, I might do a demo of that. Not today, but maybe I could do that next week, because I'm using Restream to do all of this. So I'm really excited about it. Okay, so let's talk about, I always kind of talk about hosting and domains and all that stuff in terms of like a house. You've got your mailbox, right? And that's your email. You've got the little plaque on your house, right? That says what your numbers are. And if you think about it, that's kind of like your URL, right? That's the URL or your address of where you live. Your house is actually your website, right? And then your house sits on your property, and your property is your hosting. And so there's costs that you incur with all of those things, right? So hosting is where your website is sitting on, okay? So a lot of things can affect your SEO. First of all, .nets and stuff, get rid of them if you can, because .nets really they can kind of hamper a little bit of what is going on in terms of your SEO. But .coms are the way to go. I mean, there's a lot of other new ones out now, like .io and .whatever, and some of that stuff works out really well. .photo, but .coms are still the thing that really drive a lot of traffic in an SEO. So, but we can talk about that whole thing in another time. But in terms of hosting, a lot of people, how about do me a favor, those of you who are joining me in the comments, tell me who you are hosting with. Now, some examples might be GoDaddy. GoDaddy is what we call budget hosting. There's Bluehost, that also has a lot of budget hosting. There's a lot of different things out there that do that. So again, in the comments, let me know what you're using for your hosting. Now, your hosting and your domain may be in the same place. So if you purchase your domain, your address in GoDaddy, maybe you're hosting with GoDaddy too. Just depends. So budget hosting, like a lot of the GoDaddies and the Bluehosts and stuff, what that means is you are, in a sense, sharing the same kind of server space with the 2 million other people who have websites on that, okay? Typically, budget hosting is for people who are really small. They want to just kind of get a website up there and going. But as you grow and as you have more pages and you have more content and you have more visitors, we'll talk about Flywheel in just a second, Mujan, okay? But yeah, we're going to get to that one. But as you get more and more visitors and more traffic, a lot of times that budget hosting becomes really difficult to maintain because, again, you're sharing all that server space with all these other people. So what that means is if they've got big websites, their bandwidth might be taking up some of your bandwidth because you're sharing the same space with them. If they've got giant images that they've never compressed, if they've got themes that are just big and bulky and full of code that take a long time to render or to display when you do a search, all that stuff can kind of impact what everybody is sharing, if you will. So you're not getting kind of a dedicated spot on their server. You're sharing it with everybody, okay? So let's take a look at a couple of those because I'm going to show you just, for example, here. Let me go over. I'm going to start with Flywheel. Flywheel on the brain, obviously. So this is on GoDaddy's website. Now, this is what budget hosting looks like, and it gets, I get it. When you're a small business owner, you don't know much about websites. You're like, dude, $5.99 a month? I spend that on one coffee at Starbucks, right? So, you can easily, people, like, oh yeah, I totally could do this. I get a website, 100 gigs of storage sounds like a lot. I get a free email and I get a free domain if I buy with them. And then you have to notice, of course, I'm going to zoom in here, the small print. It's $7.99 a month when you renew after the first year typically, okay? So that's great. So, but that's what it is. You're on that's their basic hosting plan. And I think if we go over here, let me see what we got. They've got web host. They've got all these different things, dedicated servers, VPN, all this stuff. And people are like, okay, I'm just going to go with the cheap thing because I don't really know what I'm doing here. So, and that's fine. Okay, like I said, that's fine. That's a great place to start, but it's definitely not a place to grow your business, okay? Because the thing with it is, and I'm going to show you Bluehost as well, $3.95 a month and $7.99 a month after the first year. So they're pretty close. Your first year is going to be a lot cheaper with Bluehost. But see, look at this, powering over 2 million websites worldwide. So that makes it sound like they're really important, which Bluehost is they're a big seller in the game, right? But, how many of those are being shared with each other? Like how many websites are sharing server space with all those other websites? So they're not getting the dedicated kind of attention that they really need to have in terms of a website. Okay, so what do I got? What do I have up here next? Okay, I have SiteGround. So SiteGround is another one. Now, we're going to come back and forth to SiteGround a little bit here, okay? And by no means am I'm not saying any of these is a bad idea. I'm just giving you kind of my experience in developing websites and hosting and knowing what I know about SEO. Okay, so SiteGround also has a budget one, $3.99 a month. Now theirs is $11.95 a month after you do it. You get all this stuff. You get a free SSL certificate, which is really great because I don't think we saw that on the other ones. And what that does is up at the top, I don't know if you can see where I'm hovering over, but there's a little lock there, okay? And what that does, SSL gives you the HTTPS in front of your website, and so you can see that it's a secure website, and those actually rank higher on search engines than those that are not. So if you're not SSL certified, you can ask your hosting provider if they offer it. A lot of them do charge money for it, and some of them could be like $100, $150 a year. So with, you may pay a little bit more, $12 a month for hosting after your first year, but you're going to get an SSL certificate. You're also going to get this free, I don't know if you see it there, free Cloudflare CDN. So a CDN, what that does is it's called caching. So it kind of saves this little snapshot of your website, and it provides it faster for people to view it, especially those from other countries. Because when people from other countries than your native one view these things, sometimes it does take a lot longer to load. sometimes it's not even available in other countries. And with the CDN, that allows your website to be viewable in other countries, which for me is really important at A Cup of Content because we have members from places other than the US. Okay. All right. So we've talked about those. And another one too, even Namecheap has hosting. Namecheap is actually my preferred domain purchasing platform. I buy everything in there. I tell all my clients to buy it from there, and it's really easy to work with, and they don't try and sell you a bunch of crap you don't need, right? Okay, because we're all about that, right? These days, getting sold things that we really don't need. So here we go. So now that we've kind of talked about those, now those of you who know me, I have been a huge proponent of Flywheel for quite some time now. I've loved working with them. They've got great customer service and support. A couple of months ago, they almost doubled their prices. So it used to be $165 a year or like $14 a month. And they about doubled it. So now it is $23 a month or it's $275 a year. So we went from $165 a year to $275 a year. And that was rough, let me tell you, because when you're someone like me who's doing like a lot of reselling and things like that. Oh, and by the way, this is if you buy it a year at a shot. If you pay for it monthly, you're going to pay even more. So $25 a month. Okay. So I'm like, all right, that gets rough. I can still do it. But man, as someone who's a reseller, and I'm looking at the freelance plan at 100, I'm paying 100 now. I'm going to go to 115. I still get the same 10 websites. That gets really difficult. And, I'm not, a big agency where I'm charging a ton of money because I work with a lot of small businesses and that's just not the way that my business model works. So what happened was after their increase in prices, they announced that they got purchased by WP Engine. And WP Engine they're a big hoster. They've got great cloud hosting. Both Flywheel and WP Engine do that. And that's what's nice because cloud hosting, you're on a little bit smaller, like the servers are smaller and you're getting a little bit more dedicated support. And then you can also see that they are even more expensive. So, $35 a month. And they're going to try and sell me here. But yeah, I mean, that's where it gets a little pricey for people, $115 a month. If you have a bigger site, the more people that visit your site, the more resources and bandwidth you're going to need. And so a lot of people aren't up to that 25,000 visitors a month, and that's totally okay. So we've got those options right now. Now, I'm going to go back for a second because me thinking about this and making sure that, small businesses or even medium-sized businesses want to get quality hosting, they want their website to show up fast. What I've decided to do is I'm actually going with SiteGround and I'm going with their cloud hosting because now this is for me, and I want to call myself an agency, but this is for someone who does website development and hosting. I know that I can offer a really solid offering to people who decide that they want to host with us. You don't have to build a website with us. If you're already in WordPress and you want to move over to hosting with A Cup of Content, we do that. And they're $80 a month package. That's out of a lot of people's reach. But when I'm looking at what I can offer with them to a small website at say $199 a month or $19 a month, I can do a lot more to help them keep their plugins updated, their themes updated, making sure things, if something goes wrong, I can help them out. I'm able to do that at a little bit better price point, not just for me, but for my clients and customers as well. So, and you don't have to do that, but making sure, even if you're going on something, the Go Geek or whatever you do, I really am finding that SiteGround is a pretty solid place to do your hosting. Okay. And if I haven't signed up for affiliate or anything yet, but I do this based off of what I use myself and what I tell people to use. Still nothing wrong with Flywheel. It's just getting to be a little bit higher priced than what I'd like to offer my clients. So, I got to work through that too. So anyway, okay, so now we've talked about the different places. What I want to share with you is this website. Now, someone's going to have to throw this in the comments for me, and I'll try and go back through and add it as well. But it's called GTmetrix, GTmetrix.com, Gmetrix. What you can do is you can find out how fast your website currently loads, and you can see what things that you can fix on your website. Now, some of this stuff might be a little bit high level stuff. So if I go to, I'm going to take up my friend Gabby because I just kind of did hers before. But Gabby has this website. She's had it for, I think, like 5 or 6 years now. It's been quite a while. And so, it hasn't had a lot of changes to it. It's very minimalistic, which is totally fine. But if I take and I plug her website over into this, and you can do this for anybody's website. Now, it might take a bit because earlier it was like, I was playing with it and it was like, oh, there's 68 jobs ahead of us. So we're going to do a little talking here until we come back to it. So, but I'm going to tell you a couple things on your website that can actually decrease your site speed. One of those things is having a slider, okay? And it's not just necessarily the slider itself. Oh, Michael McKay's here. Awesome. That's funny. It put you a little sad face in there. Not sure why, but it did. Thanks for putting that in there, Michael. Okay, so GTmetrix.com. We're testing this site on it right now. We're talking about sliders. So with sliders, those sliders can actually decrease your site speed because there's got to be constant resources in order to push it, right, to make the slides change. It depends on if you've got text on it as well, and it also depends on how large your images are, because if your images are bigger, then it's going to take more time to load, right? So let's go back over to GTmetrix. Okay, they got 10 jobs ahead of us, so we're almost ready for it, okay? So that's one thing. Back over to Gabby's site, having images, and you want quality images, but you can also make those a little bit less large, and I'm going to share a couple resources with you on how to do that here in just a moment. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is what it does. It gives you like a score. Now, what's really cool, look how fast her website loads, 1.8 seconds. For having a website that's 4 or 5 years old, that's amazing. Now, she doesn't have a lot of content on it, but that's okay too. But having that, and I believe she's hosted through, oh man, I don't know who I could find out, but I don't think it's Flywheel. So what you can do is you can take a look at this, and it's going to give you your page speed and then your Y slow score, okay, amongst a couple other things. So it's giving her an F in browser caching. And so what that means is there sometimes certain hosting, if you're on a budget hosting, a lot of times they don't cache your website for you, and you have to install a plugin to do it for you. And again, that caching is kind of like it's taking a snapshot and then pushing the snapshot out, so it doesn't have to constantly try and find new information for your site. And so that's sometimes why caching plugins are really important. But if you have good hosting, if you have that CDN on your website, that kind of stuff will cache for you, and it'll make your website even faster, okay? And so it's mostly images that are being cached, okay? And I mean, we could go look at all these other things. It's giving her a B in optimizing images, and it's really cool. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here for you. Okay, there we go. So there's a bunch of images that could be reduced, and it even shows, like, you can look at the optimized version of them because it's kind of giving you that option already. And what this means is typically, and it's a reason why I've started to install this really awesome plugin that I found for free. It's called the Robin Image Optimizer on your website. If you just search for Robin Image Optimizer for WordPress, you can install it. The free version is fantastic, but you can install that, and it will actually optimize your images and shrink their sizes down for you on your WordPress site. And in the settings, you can even set it up to run like 5 images every 5 minutes or something like that. So, but having a plugin like this is really great for your site. It would be a plugin that I would definitely recommend having, because that's typically one of the biggest issues with websites is they've got a 1 meg image size on their website, and it's like, well, how do I work with that when it's so big and it's taken forever to load the site and it's all that. Okay, so that's what's really cool about it, but it does give you a lot of different options. Now, if we go to that why slow score, okay, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about why this is happening. So add expires headers. So their style sheet on her particular theme has become a little bit out of date, okay? And that's what's really cool too. You can have, what does this mean? Expires headers let the browser know whether to serve a cached version of the page, okay? And because she's got a particular theme that's a little bit older, this might not be able to be remedied. I was going to say remediable, but I don't think that's a word. Just making stuff up here now. But that's one thing that can help with a site that may not be updated, like the theme might not be able to be updated anymore. Fewer HTTP requests. That's a lot with the CSS stuff too, and that's a lot of your theme. Use a CDN. So I'm guessing her site is not hosted somewhere that offers a CDN, or the CDN has not been installed. And I can do that with SiteGround, which is fantastic. So it does help with the caching of the sites. I can even show you, like, for example, I just moved this site over, 21daygraphicdesigncamp.com, to Cloudflare, and it's so lightning fast. I just moved my Kim Bultsma site onto it, and equally, not quite as fast, but it's pretty stinking fast to have that loaded on a page too. So, but anyway, so those are a lot of things that you can look at, and it's going to give you information about what you can change and update on your website in order to make your website load a little bit faster and things like that. So, okay, so we talked about the Robin Image Optimizer that you can install on WordPress sites. But another one that you could do is pixlr.com/x, and it's spelled pixlr.com/x, the letter X. And that's a really great site too, because if you don't have Photoshop or any other image manipulation program, you can actually downsize your images right from within Pixlr. So that's a really fantastic and helpful totally free image manipulator program out there. So there's it's just fantastic. You could do layers, and you can make text, and make graphics, and all. You can crop, and you can downsize, and it's a really great program. So while we're talking about these image optimizing, another one that you can do if you're not on WordPress, tinypng.com, tinypng. And that you can just drag and drop up to 20 images, and it will compress the images for you, and you can download them, and then you can re-upload them to your site, and then attach them to where they need to be, go in and delete those old images that are taking up a lot of room on your site. So that's tinypng.com, free program that you can use. And the other thing I can tell you too that's really important, and maybe I could just log in. Let me log in real quick to this website. Okay. And I'm going to show you 2 things that you can do. Okay. 2 things that you can do to make within the back end of your website, especially if you're on WordPress. Oh yeah, I do have a few. Okay. So if I go into my plugins and I have any updates there, I highly recommend that you update them one at a time, okay? One plugin at a time. A lot of people will go into their updates page, and they will batch update things. I do not recommend that. What happens during the update process is sometimes the plugins will interfere with each other, and then it can crash your site. So I usually just go into my main plugins page, update them one at a time, and then I wait for a second and I go and update another one. So, and as you can see, I don't have a ton of plugins available on my websites, because the more plugins you have, the more risk you have for slowing your website down, because all of those take resources and stuff. So, and then I do have a theme to update. And so I typically go in and I just update it individually. So I do everything one at a time. Yes, it takes more time, but you most likely will have fewer issues with your website crashing. And so I would highly recommend that. Keep on top of it, especially if you have a theme that you know is reliable. I can tell you, those of you who are on the WP Composer, the Visual Baker, that theme and that plugin notoriously has issues. And so when there's an update for WordPress, like an overall update to WordPress, I would wait a couple of days until you actually see the Visual Composer theme update come across before you update WordPress, because a lot of times I've had it happen that your website will become unupdatable until Visual Composer actually gets their plugin or their theme updated. So you have to, it's just something with that. Divi, I've had no problems with it ever. They are almost weekly updates, so they're always staying on top of things, and I really trust that. So, okay, so there's that. And then like I said, theme updates and plugin updates. If you need to, I highly recommend you always go through your plugins and be like, I am totally not using that. I think I'm going to delete it. Okay. And so I would do that. If you're not using something, do not just delete it and get rid of it. That's a huge issue on load times for websites. So, all right, guys, unless there are any more questions, I know we still have got some viewers here. But yeah, please ask questions. Like I said, those are kind of my thoughts and my experiences with working with hosting. Not that having budget hosting is a problem, but you do have to do a lot more work and have a little bit more, background and know-how in order to work with some of those. So, but yeah, so that was a little bit on that. I'm using SiteGround. If you're interested in moving a WordPress website to hosting with a Cup of Content, I'd be happy to send you some information. You can shoot me a private message here at A Cup of Content, and I can tell you a little bit more about that. I do offer a free transfer with WordPress. So, we've got some options with you for that. So I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me this morning, and I hope everything was okay. I'm going to go head over to LinkedIn and see if I can catch the replay of this and make sure everything was working over there. But this is going to be how we'll be doing it from now on. So you can follow me here on Facebook at A Cup of Content. You can follow us on YouTube, A Cup of Content, or you can follow me, Kim Bultsma, over on LinkedIn. I can add my business page, but I'm just going to do my personal profile for right now. So I should be back next week, same time, same 3 channels. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.